Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Minister of Finance says the bottom line is the creation of wealth through human satisfaction for all in the country. The Ministry of Local Government plans to use the funds allotted to undertake 410 projects throughout the country. And UWI St. Augustine hosts its first Research Awards ceremony. Thank you so much for joining us. The Honourable Larry Howai, Minister of Finance, says the bottom line is the creation of wealth through human satisfaction for all in the country. His message came during his address at the Women's Institute for Alternative Development, their post-budget forum. It was Minister Larry Howai's first NGO appearance since presenting this country's 2012-2013 fiscal package to the House on Monday.
Mr. Howai spent over 30 years working in the financial services industry and for most of that time served as the CEO of First Citizens. So when the former banker turned Minister of Finance and crafted his first fiscal package, initially he had as his focus ensuring economic growth and achieving a balanced budget, which he admitted was very pro-business.
I have to admit that I don't know and have never really paid or considered the issue of gender budgeting before. It's a new concept for me, coming from the background that I come from. And from that background, we basically consider, in a sense, a commercial bottom line as opposed to a social bottom line. Over time, however, and certainly with the meltdown that has occurred throughout the world, I think everyone, particularly bankers, but I think governments, ministers of finance, chancellors of the exchequer and so on, have come to recognize that perhaps we may have gone in a slightly different direction to the one that would have realized optimal growth and satisfaction of the communities that we serve.
The minister says he's begun to realize a new bottom line and that it is the creation of wealth through human satisfaction. It's the direction, he says, most developed countries are moving in, from GDP to GDH.
In some countries, there's been a movement away from GDP to GDH, and GDP being gross domestic product, and GDH being gross domestic happiness. And we haven't figured out how to measure gross domestic happiness just yet.
Minister Howai says we've gotten accustomed to dealing in a particular kind of currency, and the currency being monetary currency as opposed to the currency of happiness and human well-being.
So I have to confess that I have not had the experience and the background that in the past has helped me to, or going forward I should say, that would allow me to consider some of the issues that Vladi has and Dr. Tabaksh has put on the table here this evening.
He adds that it is important for him to start to develop new understandings of what is required of him in his position as Minister of Finance and the Economy.
Certainly it is something that is a lesson that I've started to learn from my initial interactions in the pre-budget consultations. I've started to understand the broader range of issues that as Minister of Finance I would need to address.
Mr. Howai says his personal goal is to be a successful Minister of Finance, and to do so, he believes, he must remove obstacles that prevent any segment of the population from achieving its success. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
The Ministry of Local Government plans to use the funds allotted to it in the 2012-2013 fiscal package to undertake 410 projects throughout Trinidad and Tobago. This was revealed by Local Government Minister Dr. the Honourable Surajratan Rambachan.
Minister Rambachan says he is pleased with the funds his ministry has received to take it through the 2012-2013 fiscal year. He insists the funds are enough to undertake all the projects which his ministry has planned. He adds that the almost $2 billion sum will also be sufficient for the regional corporations to conduct their undertakings and projects.
I'm very happy. I've gotten $1.988 billion to do projects and to run the ministry, and also to do the funding for the development projects at the corporations. And I'm very, very happy about that. I think that I'll be able to accomplish quite a lot.
Dr. Rambachan also assures citizens that many of the works which the regional corporations have planned will begin soon after the budget has been passed. This after he implemented a new system under which the corporations submit an early budget to the Ministry of Local Government.
Well, it's historic for local government. When I came into office, being a former mayor, I wanted to do something about the length of time it takes to get development projects going at local government. And normally, the people will start doing detailed estimates only when the budget is passed. 11 of the 14 corporations have already submitted me all their detailed estimates. These are already been checked by the Ministry of Local Government, the project officers, so that as soon as this budget is passed, I can apply to the Ministry of Finance, get money, and start up projects.
Dr. Rambachan also reveals plans he has to undertake special projects in each constituency in conjunction with the unemployment relief program.
You have two kinds of projects to do. One is called the core project. The core project is where you spend 70,000 labor and you use a materials, and you use a URP construction gang. The community projects run under URP, but it's contracted out, and it's projects under $500,000. And I intend to do 410 such projects, 205 core and 205 community, 10 per each constituency. I am, providing equity and equal distribution of these resources across the board for all the members of Parliament.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. At least $450 million has been allocated for the construction of the University of the West Indies Law Campus in Debe. Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, the Honorable Fazal Karim, made the announcement during the commencement of construction on the campus on lands of the former sugar estates of Caroni 1975 Limited in Debe.
The UWI South Campus was officially launched on February 24th last year by the Honorable Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who dedicated the land and unveiled a plaque. Minister Karim says the campus will be built on 142 acres of land at a cost of $500 million.
The initial project, Phase A, involves the construction of Signature Building, a state-of-the-art central library, and Mr. Marfleet will show us on the cadastral in terms of the entire parcel of land. And this parcel encompasses 142 acres of land. I want to tell you, I want to pay tribute as well to my cabinet colleague, the Honorable Dr. Rudal Monilal, who has assisted tremendously in ensuring that we can be here today and ensuring that these lands are captured for the benefit of UWI, but also for the children, the sons and the daughters and the parents of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
The minister says funding for the construction of the campus was made possible through the Public Sector Investment Program. He is assuring that contractors will complete the project within budget.
It will also comprise the building of the UWI St. Augustine Faculty of Law, which will include a capacity for 450 full-time students, a moot court, academic building for other UWI programs, and Roy Tech, which we expect will have a capacity here for 550 students.
He adds that the academic buildings for the other UWI programs, such as Roytech and halls of residence, will cater for approximately 100 students. The building will also house a student union building, recreational facilities such as playgrounds and hard courts, as well as a central plant and support facility, inclusive of pedestrian walkway and parking.
And I'm proud to say that one of the forerunners to this project was Roytech South, and we pay public tribute to the principal of the Naparima College, Dr. Michael Dowlat, for housing Roytech, for giving birth to Roytech, and Roytech will now be elevated onto these compounds. I ask you to again appreciate it.
Within the first quarter of the new fiscal year, the minister says they shall start some preliminary work on the compound. The major contractor is China Jiangsu's International Economic Technical Cooperation Corp. However, he says local contractors and consultants will be fully utilized at several areas of construction.
CJ is utilizing a wide range of local subcontractors and suppliers, and I want to elaborate because there's a view that while we have China Jiangsu, that people do not know about the content, the local content and contractors. So let me give members of the media as well, as those who are assembled here, an idea of some of the works that the local contractors will be involved in. Site security, site clearing and earthworks, piling, termite treatment, concrete, rebar, steel structure installation, fireproofing, waterproofing, precast concrete panels, blockwork, elevators. Those are just some of the many aspects of work that local contractors and the team with China Jiangsu will be engaged in. The cost of the construction of this facility is in the vicinity of 500 million TT dollars. And I'm pleased to say that with the support of my cabinet colleagues and with the approval of the Honorable Prime Minister as head of our cabinet and our very esteemed Prime Minister, we have been able to secure immediately 10% of the 500 million. So the UWI is in possession of $50 million as we speak.
CJ has teamed up with leading local design consultants and will utilize a wide range of local subcontractors and suppliers for site security, site clearing and earthworks, piling, termite treatment and concrete works. Minister Karim says the proposed time frame for construction was 18 months and was hopeful it should be completed before the 2015 general election. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
In related news, local scholars gathered to celebrate decades of indigenous research as the University of the West Indies St. Augustine hosted its first Research Awards ceremony. The ceremony showcased the outstanding work done by researchers at the campus and was themed Celebrating Excellence in Research. Speaking at the ceremony, Tertiary Education Minister, who says such research holds the potential to provide critical data needed for the creation of policies.
Over $9 million has been given to local scholars for the conducting of indigenous research by the Tertiary Education Ministry. The funds were dispersed to local scholars gathered to celebrate decades of indigenous research as the UWI St. Augustine campus hosted its first Research Awards ceremony. Tertiary Education Minister Fazal Karim spoke highly of the studies conducted by the scholars as providing critical data essential for national development.
$9 million to 11 priority research projects. It is very noteworthy that the research areas established by the UWI span areas of national development priority focus. Our skills in Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension our research agenda, must be homegrown, world-known. It is time that our citizens are made aware of what research is undertaken at all our institutions. It is time that we utilize the services of what I want to call public engagement officers, not necessarily marketing officers, not necessarily public relations officers, but public engagement officers who provide that intermediary, that intermediation between those of us who supply the research agenda and those of us who demand the research agenda.
Professor E. Nigel Harris says such a ceremony aims at building awareness of the research that is carried out at the university. Speaking at the ceremony, he says while research continues to be conducted at the institution, a lot more needs to be done in garnering an appreciation for such unique research.
There are a few misguided people who still make the comment that UWI doesn't produce any new ideas. And I say to those people that they either have been sleeping, they're possibly misguided, or they're seeking to misguide. Because in truth, so much is being done. But I still feel that we need to do more because there will be never enough. And there is still an absence, I feel, in our communities, both local and regional, of an appreciation of some of the real fascinating and exciting things coming out of our institutions.
The ceremony recognizes the recipients of grants under the highly competitive UWI Trinidad and Tobago Research and Development Impact Fund, which is supported by a dedicated fund from the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Sport is up right after the break. Stay with us. We take a look at football after match day 12. Wassa FC in the familiar position at the top of the Blink B Mobile National Super League. Following a break for the knockout competition, the Eastern outfit started the second round of league action in style with a comprehensive victory. But with a lot of football still to play, they cannot afford to be complacent. Here's Wayne Cunningham with a look at the standings and a round-up of the weekend scores.
A familiar battle is brewing at the top of the National Super League. Following match day 12, multi-time champions Wassa FC have taken a 3-point lead after a handsome 4-1 win over Beach United at their fortress in St. Joseph. The Watermen were slow to get out of the blocks, with the first goal coming in the 33rd minute from Stephen Edwards. Maurice Billy equalized for the Eastern Counties team in the 63rd, but that only served to wake Wassa up. Kerry Norrie restored the lead in the 66th, with Jahan Hernandez and Michael Waldron sealing the deal with goals in the 79th and 87th minutes. The result left Beach in sole possession of last place on just 9 points. Keeping them company in the cellar is Defence Force, who were beaten 3-0 at home by Superior Spurs. The big clash on match day 12 was between second place Joe Public FC and Westside Superstars, who are in third. That game ended in a 1-1 stalemate, with David Lendor opening the scoring for Westside at their St. Anthony's College ground on the stroke of half-time. 9 minutes after the resumption, the prolific Brent Antoine equalized for the Eastern Lions to earn a point and stay in second spot. In Tobago, newly crowned knockout champions Stokely Vale FC were held to a 0-0 draw by Central Team Eagles United, while 1976 FC Phoenix eked out a 1-0 win against Club Sando, courtesy an early goal from Darren Mitchell in the 5th minute. That result put Phoenix in 4th spot, with their compatriots from the Sister Isle in 5th. Eagles continue to maintain a place in the middle of the standings. Just below them in 7th place is FC Santa Rosa. They met Real Maracas in an all-Eastern encounter at the UTT ground in Arima. That fixture ended 1-0 in favor of Santa Rosa, with Ion Allen scoring the lone item. The defeat put Maracas in the relegation zone in 10th spot, just below Club Sando. The boys from the Valley will have a task on their hands if they are to climb up the table, because they host leaders Wassa in Maracas this coming weekend. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sport.
More news after the break. Welcome back. A temporary market facility has been constructed to accommodate the vendors of Marabella and environs at a cost of some $8.7 million. Local Government Minister Dr. The Honorable Suraj Ratan Rambachan says vendors play a key role in society, and as such they should be treated with all sense of respect and dignity.
Market vendors play a most important role in the society in terms of economic development. While there are many persons in this country who go looking for a job, market vendors are self-employed, and we must give them high regard and respect for that. In other words, they don't come knocking at your door of a business place and say, I want a job. They have created their jobs, and therefore governments have a responsibility to ensure that they have proper conditions under which to sell their produce, and that their lives are made comfortable in terms of the environment, in terms of the hygiene facilities.
Local Government Minister Dr. Suraj Rambachan speaking at the Marabella Market temporary facility, where he expressed his commitment to ensure that all registered vendors will be accommodated at the facility. He is also promising that the various concerns of the vendors will be discussed to bring resolution in 1 month's time.
There were some vendors who had some problems, and they feared that they may not be accommodated. I want to say that I'm going to be speaking to the mayor today. I'm going to have a meeting with him, and we are going to find a way to ensure that every vendor who is registered will be accommodated. I've already seen where this is possible. I've examined some of the area around these buildings, and I think it's possible within a month to ensure that this problem can be resolved to everybody's benefit.
The minister is also boasting of the great facilities available to the vendors at the market.
I've examined the facilities as much more than temporary because I've seen some very good arrangements made for the sale of meat and fish in the air-conditioned section of the market. The conditions under which vendors are going to sell here and under which people are going to be purchasing meat and fish is comparable to any of the other markets, and maybe even better than most of the markets in Trinidad.
He says the vending sector is of great significance as it opens up the job market for other persons in various areas.
When you have your 320 vendors being self-employed, you have 320 less persons knocking on the door of businesses to create employment. But it doesn't stop there. They are able, through their vending, to create employment for other people. For example, people who have to grow the goods for them to sell, people who have to transport it and bring it to this place. And then when they get money, they are able to take care of their families, they're able to go to the groceries, they're able to go to the entertainment shops, they're able to go and buy clothing. They are a hub of economic activity that sometimes we do not recognize.
This vendor says he is overwhelmed that finally he can ply his trade in comfort.
How long we waited for this, man? About 40 years, and we now get it.
What's your
People
name?
should appreciate it.
Vina Bharat, News 4. As followers all over the world celebrated the 143rd birthday of the late inspirational leader Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the Indian High Commission to Trinidad and Tobago led similar memorial services here at home. Indian High Commissioner Srimali Mishra, in his address to those gathered, says Gandhi's messages of hope continue to hold the power needed to bring about the positive change the world needs today.
Peaceful song sung by the many who gathered to pay homage to one of the greatest men that walked the face of the earth on his 143rd birth anniversary, Mahatma Gandhi. Observances were put on by the Indian High Commission based here in Trinidad and Tobago. High Commissioner Srimali Mishra says remembering Gandhi also meant remembering the contributions he made to society. In his address, Sri Mishra calls on society to be mindful that his life still lives on in society today, as freedom marches around the globe are symbolic of the fight for freedom he pioneered nearly a century ago.
Techniques of civil disobedience that you can protest. You can protest peacefully. In a democracy, we have to have peace. We also need to have peace to have development and governance. Unless we have peace, if the society is disturbed, if the society is somehow plagued with violence or disturbance, there can be no development.
Speaker of the House Wade Mark echoed similar sentiments, remembering Gandhi as the one who paved the way for all civil society movements, but whose philosophy holds a solution to a number of the world's problems today.
His philosophy, rather, of satyagraha provides a lens to view, analyze, and provide solutions for a variety of the world's most intractable problems, including the global financial crisis, the increasing diversity of the world's population, the crisis of leadership, and the marginalization of whole subsections of society, including the poor and the young people and marginalized women.
Speaker Mark took the opportunity to remind those gathered of the power they have at their hands in effecting change in the world, similar to the one Gandhi led during his life.
While both of these stories are still being written, we are reminded of the power of ordinary citizens coming together to speak truth to power. In both instances, the groups were aided by the accessibility of communication technology, whilst all Gandhi had at his disposal was the word of mouth.
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is celebrated as the father of India, while his birthday, October 2nd, is commemorated there as Gandhi Jayanti, a national holiday, and worldwide as the International Day of Non-Violence. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.